Your income will not change until you stop letting your current reality hypnotize you. And I know that sounds simple, but this is where so many people stay stuck for years. Because what do? They look at the bank account and they call it the truth. They look at their current income and call it reality. They look at how long things have been the same and call it evidence. They look at the lack of results, the slow momentum, the inconsistent sales, the pressure around money, the lack of freedom, and without realizing it, they start building their future from the exact same thing that they said that they want to leave behind. And I'm telling you right now, that's the trap. Your current reality is not showing you what is possible. It's showing you what has already been impressed into your subconscious mind. So think about this. Your current income is not proof of your potential. It's proof of your past thinking, your past assumptions, your past self-image, your past emotional state, and the decisions that came from that version of you. Yet so many people treat what they can currently see like it's the final say. Their bank balance starts shaping their identity. Their circumstances start deciding what feels affordable, and their expectations shrink to match the evidence around them. The confidence rises and falls depending on what happened that week. And they sit there wondering why nothing is changing. Look, you cannot create a new life whilst emotionally submitting to your old one. I remember when money was constantly on my mind, and the part that hurt the most was not the money itself. It was what the lack of money meant for me and my children. Because you can probably relate to this. When you've got kids, money's not just numbers on a screen. It becomes the difference between saying yes and having to hesitate. It becomes the difference between creating memories and calculating whether you can afford them. And it becomes the difference between taking them to Dubai, taking them to Disneyland, nice hotels, beautiful experiences, beautiful places, or sitting there with that heavy feeling in your chest every time you think about the cost. I hated that feeling. Not because I wanted more money just for the sake of money, but because I wanted the freedom. I wanted choice. I wanted to give my children more, and I wanted to be the kind of man who could create a life that they would remember. But at that time, my current reality kept shouting louder than my vision. And when reality gets loud, it's easy to start believing it. You can probably relate to this. You begin thinking, maybe this is just who I am and where I'm going to be. Maybe I need to wait until things are better. Maybe I should be realistic. But what most people call being realistic is often just loyalty to an old self-image. And that was me. I'd read the books, I'd watched the videos, I'd consumed all the personal development content. I understood goals, affirmations, visualization, mindset, and the importance of taking action. But my results were still not changing the way that I wanted them to. And I'm telling you right now, because I've been there, that is one of the most frustrating places that you can be. Because when you're not trying, you can almost explain it away. But when you're studying, you're writing your goals, you're listening to podcasts, watching the videos, taking the action, and life still looks the same, that's when it starts to mess with you. You start wondering if something is wrong with you. And I know a lot of people watching this know exactly what that feels like. This is not about laziness. It's not lack of ambition. It's not because there's nothing inside of you. There's a bigger life pulling at you. More income, more freedom, stronger control, peace, pride in who you're becoming, and the ability to provide for your family in a way that feels incredible. It feels good to you. So you're not just chasing money. What you're doing is you're trying to remove that quiet pressure that sits in the background when you know you're capable of more. But your results keep telling you a different story. That is why this has to go deeper than motivation. The problem is rarely what you consciously desire. The deeper issue is what your subconscious mind has accepted as normal. And I'm telling you right now, until your subconscious mind accepts a new reality, then your life is going to keep snapping back to the old one. And this is why income does not change because someone wants more. Everyone wants more. Desire alone is not enough. Desire has to be joined with expectation. Desire is the thing that you would love to experience, right? But expectation is what you actually anticipate happening. And if there is a desire for wealth, freedom, success, growth, and a completely different level of life, but the expectation underneath that is struggle, delay, rejection, maybe disappointment and the same income, then what's going to win? The expectation every single time. And that's what most people miss. On the surface, the goal is quite simple, it's quite clear. You want more money, you want more freedom, you want a better life for you and your family, but underneath that goal, the emotional pattern is still tied to the old reality. So the goal says growth, but the nervous system braces for struggle. So the vision is freedom, but fear is still filtering the decisions that you make. So the words coming out of your mouth, they might say, do you know what? I'm ready. While the emotional state underneath it is waiting for proof from the outside world. And when that happens, your old reality is going to keep leading, even while the person thinks that they're moving towards something new. And then what did he say? Oh, do you know what? I've tried this before and it didn't work. But did you really try it? Or did you just visit the idea for a few days and then return to that old identity again? Because that's the difference. Most people do not fail because this does not work. They fail because they never became the person it would work through. So affirmations are being repeated, but the private conversation inside of them is still full of doubt. Abundance is spoken about, but then panic takes over the moment you get a bill. Clients are imagined, but as soon as a prospect takes longer to reply, rejection becomes the assumption. Success is declared, yet the decisions are still coming from that same old fear. So it's not that the principle failed, it's that the old identity stayed in charge. And that old part of you, bear this in mind, it's clever. One part of you knows that there is more available. It can see the vision. It can feel the pull towards the life, the income, the confidence, the freedom, and the pride. But another part is trying to keep everything comfortable and familiar. So it whispers that, do you know what? You shouldn't take the risk. It questions whether this will really work. And it reminds you of the times that things did not change before. Can you relate to that? It points at the bank account and tells you, do you know what? Now's not the right time. And it convinces you to wait until life feels easier. And it dresses fear up as logic. And when that protected part is allowed to make the decisions, the future, it's just going to keep looking more like your past. Because that part of you is not trying to make you wealthy. It's trying to keep you safe. And safe is not always free. Safe can be frustrating. Safe can be painful. Safe can look like waking up every day knowing you're capable of more while still living below what you know is possible for you. It can also look like watching other people move ahead while you keep convincing yourself that your time will come very soon. And it can look like promising yourself next month will be different, then looking up 6 months later and realizing that you're still trying to solve the same problem. That's why you've got to ignore your current reality. Not deny it, not pretend that it doesn't exist, not be irresponsible, but stop giving it authority over who you're becoming. You can be aware of your current circumstances without being controlled by them. I'd write that down, by the way, okay? You can look at your bank account without allowing it to decide your identity. And you can know where you are without living from that place emotionally. You see, there's a big difference between awareness and obedience. So some people are just not noticing their current reality. They're being governed by it. Their choices begin bending around it. And guess what else? Their expectation gets pulled down to match it. So their conversations carry the weight of it as well. Even the sales calls are affected by the uncertainty it creates. Their content starts sounding less powerful because doubt is sitting underneath it. So what happens? Their offer gets watered down. They start hesitating to follow up with people. And over time, their whole self-image begins forming around what they can currently see, their current reality. And then the same patterns repeat again. Your current reality is old news. It's a lagging indicator. It's not the cause, it's the effect. And if you keep emotionally reacting to the effect, you're going to keep creating the cause. This is why you've got to become disciplined with the image that you hold of yourself. So when your goal is more money, you cannot see yourself as someone that is still trying to get there. You've got to start asking, who am I when this is already normal to me? What does that version of me think about every day? How does that version of me speak? How does that version of me speak? What energy do they bring into a sales conversation? How does that version of me speak when a prospect objects or hesitates? What does his follow-up process look like? How does he handle objections? What kind of decisions does that version of you make? How does he carry himself when nobody else is watching? Because I'm telling you, once your self-image changes, your behavior changes automatically. And when your behavior changes consistently, the results have to show themselves. And this is exactly what happened to me. I did not go from where I was making more money because I found one magic tactic. That's not what happened. What happened was I stopped identifying with the man that was struggling. Old results stopped being the thing that I defined myself by. So I started holding an image of myself as someone who could create more, lead better, earn more, serve more, and become the kind of man that my children could look at and be proud of. And as that image changed, everything in my life started changing as well. My standards lifted. My conversations carried more certainty. My decisions came from a totally different place. The way I spoke, sold, followed up, and carried myself changed completely. And then my income began reflecting that new identity, that new image. I went from earning about £15,000 a year to making over £18,000 a month. That did not happen because current reality gave me permission. It happened because I stopped needing current reality to agree with me first. That's the work, guys, okay? You've got to decide who you are before your current reality is going to catch up. And this is exactly what I saw with my client, Ryan. You know, Ryan's from Ireland and he had a clear goal. He wanted freedom, and his C-type goal was to move to Dubai and start working remotely and experience a completely different life. But like a lot of people, when the physical circumstances are all you can see, that kind of goal, it can seem impossible. It looks like it's far away, right? The mind looks at where you live now, what you earn now, how your routine currently works, and immediately starts asking, how is it going to happen? But the how is not the first step. Your self-image, your identity is. So Ryan had to stop seeing himself through the lens of where he currently was, and he had to begin becoming the kind of person who actually lives that life, and he's achieved it. Now he lives in Dubai. He's achieved a goal. And that's not just a story about moving country. It's a symbol. It's proof that when someone stops being hypnotized by their current reality and starts impressing a new image onto the subconscious mind, life begins to start rearranging itself around that image. Now look, your goal might not be to move to Dubai. It might be more money. It might just be removing the pressure that you've currently got around bills. It might be taking your kids away without thinking twice about it. It might be waking up with certainty instead of worry. Or it could even be looking in the mirror and finally feeling proud of the person that's looking back at you. But whatever the goal is, the principle stays the same. Present results cannot keep getting more power than the life that you're creating. Because what you focus on, what you feel, what you assume and accept internally, it begins shaping how you behave. It controls what you notice, what you act on, what you tolerate, and ultimately the results that you produce. Look, let me speak to the person who says, but Joel, I've tried this before. Look, I completely understand that, right? Maybe you've read the books. Maybe affirmations have been part of your routine. Maybe visualization has already been tried by you, right? Maybe you've watched video after video and felt inspired in the moment. And there might have been times when you've genuinely felt like everything was about to change. Then a week later, you were back right in that emotional place again. And that can make anyone skeptical. It used to make me skeptical. But the question is not, have you heard this before? The question is, have you become it? Because hearing something and becoming something are two completely different things. You can understand the truth and still live from the old identity. You can know the principle and still emotionally submit to your current reality. You can have all the information and still not be the person who applies it consistently. That's why information alone does not transform people. Identity does. So a lot of people start getting addicted to learning because learning makes them feel like change is happening. But their results eventually expose that nothing has truly shifted at a root level. And that was me. I was consuming the content, but my life was not moving because the person consuming the information had not changed. And that is why this work, it has to go deeper. I'm telling you right now, more content is not the answer by itself. A new self-image is required. repetition matters, environment matters, accountability matters, and the right framework matters. And the old version of you cannot keep voting for the same life while the new version of you only gets attention when you feel motivated when the motivation's high. And I know another thought that might be coming up right now. I don't have the money to get help. So let's talk about that properly. Money is not evil, okay? Money does not make you a bad person. What money really does is it reveals more of who you already are. So if you're a good person, it gives you more ability to do good. So with more money, your options expand. You can provide better for your family. You can give your children experiences that they will remember forever. You can help people without overthinking whether you can afford to or not. You can create space, peace, choice, and a level of calm that is very hard to feel when everything is financially tight. So when people say that they do not want to focus on the money, I understand the intention behind it, but money touches almost every single area of your life. It affects where you live, the choices that you make, the places that you can travel, what you can do with your children, how calm you feel when things happen in your life, how much you can give, and also how much freedom you can actually experience. If your relationship with money is keeping you stuck, avoiding the subject is not noble at all. It's expensive because there is a cost to changing, but there's also a cost to staying the same. You see, most people, they only calculate the investment required to make a decision. It's only rarely that they sit down and measure the price of not making one, because another 6 months in the same place, that has a cost as well. Continuing to earn the same amount while you know you're capable of more, that costs something too. Waking up with the same doubt, carrying the same pressure, and letting your family keep getting the version of you that is stressed, distracted, and not fully present, that also has a price attached to it as well. So trying to figure everything out alone, it costs time, it costs energy, and sometimes opportunities that are right in front of you right now, but you could not see them because the old self-image is running the show. Money comes and goes, but time cannot be replaced. You can make more money, you can't get another year of your life back. And this is where responsibility comes in. It's not your fault you are where you are up until now. Maybe you thought the missing piece was strategy. Maybe you believed that one more piece of information would finally unlock it. Maybe you were listening to people who did not understand how deeply your subconscious mind and self-image control your results. But once you see it, you have a responsibility to act on it. Because now you know. Current reality is not fixed. Income is not identity. Desire and expectation shape what you move towards. When the old self-image stays in charge, the same results continue. And people like Ryan prove that when the inner image changes, your life changes. So the real question becomes, what are you going to do with that awareness? Because there's always two choices, and both choices have their own price. One path requires courage, investment, honesty, discipline, and a decision. Now the other path looks easier in the moment, but it often becomes another 6 months of frustration, another year wondering why nothing has changed. Another season watching other people move ahead while you keep telling yourself, it's gonna change, I'll do it later. Most people don't realize that choices have a price. Waiting costs something. Doubt takes payments. Trying to do everything alone is not free. Staying loyal to current reality extracts a price from your confidence, your energy, your family, and your future. And if you keep leaving it, look, the longer you leave it, the more expensive it becomes, not just financially, but emotionally. Every time you say you're going to change and then you don't follow through, trust with yourself just gets weaker and weaker and weaker. You really want to pay attention to this. Every time the pull to become more shows up and you retreat back into the familiar, the old identity gets reinforced again. Every moment where the excuse wins over the decision teaches your subconscious mind that the old life still has authority. And I say that with compassion because I know what it feels like. I was stuck doing the same thing for 6 years. I used to let excuses stand in my way. I allowed current reality to convince me I had to wait. Fear used to dress itself up as logic, but at some point I had to decide. I had to decide what I really wanted. Did I want the money, the freedom, the peace of mind, the ability to say yes to my kids, the pride, the life that I kept thinking about? Or was I going to keep defending the reasons why I didn't have it yet? Because look, you can have the result or you can have the excuses. It's as simple as that. But you cannot keep choosing both. And that might sound direct, but sometimes direct is exactly what changes your life. Maybe up until now, you've been struggling. Maybe there's a frustration inside of you because you know that there's more available to you. Maybe there's been moments where you've looked at your life and you thought, no, this can't be it, right? Maybe your financial reality has created embarrassment that nobody else sees. Maybe you've hidden the real pressure from the people around you. Maybe you've been working, you've been trying, you've been affirming, you've been reading, even journaling or planning, whatever you've been doing, and you're still not seeing the shift that you want. But today, right now, can become the moment where that version of you starts losing its power. Not because everything changes instantly on the outside, but because something changes inside. Current reality no longer gets to lead. Old habits lose the grip on the next chapter of your life. Doubt is removed from the driver's seat. Circumstances are no longer treated as permission slips. So instead of waiting for life to look different before you change, you can't do that. You've got to begin changing in the exact place where life currently looks the same. That's the portal. And I do not say this lightly, okay? When you step into this work properly, it's not just about making more money. It's about stepping into a new version of you. On one side is the life that you keep saying that you want, right? Freedom, money, peace of mind, the ability to provide, right? The ability to live in a way that feels like you're finally becoming who you're meant to be. On the other side is the familiar pain of staying where you are. And right now you're standing between the two. One part of you may be skeptical, another part may feel afraid. A thought may come up saying, what if this doesn't work for me? And another thought might remind you that things have been tried before, right? Then the money objection appears and you say, do you know what? Not right now. But underneath all that, I know right now there's a deeper knowing. There's a part of you that has felt the truth in what I am saying right now, okay? There is something in you that knows that you're not meant to keep living from old evidence. I know for a fact, somewhere inside of you, you can feel that more is possible for you. And you also know that if the perfect time becomes the requirement, a year can pass and the same problem will be sitting right there waiting to be solved. That's the part that you need to listen to. That part knows the truth. Your future does not need the fearful part of you to feel ready. It needs the decisive part of you to lead. And if this video is speaking to you, I want you to book a call in the description below. Not for another motivational conversation, not to get hyped for a few days. Book the call because you're ready for the result on the other side of this. You are ready for more money coming in consistently. I'll show you how to earn more money than you can spend. Because I know you're ready to stop feeling like your income is stuck at the same level. You're ready for the freedom to travel, provide for your family, make decisions from power, and wake up feeling amazing and proud of the life that you're building. You're ready to feel certain again. You're ready to become the version of you who no longer has to force success. It's effortless. You don't have to chase money or keep starting again every few months. That is what we will look at on the call, okay? We will look at where you are right now and where you want to go, and I will show you exactly what has to shift internally so your results can finally match the life that you keep seeing in your mind. Because look, this is not just about making a bit more money. It's about becoming the version of you who naturally creates more income, more freedom, more confidence, and a life that actually feels like it's yours. Look, you've got two choices. You can keep trying to figure it out alone, reading more books, watching more videos, repeating more affirmations, and hoping that one day it finally clicks. Or you can get help from someone who has been where you are, has changed it, and now helps other people create that shift for themselves. Ryan didn't create his new life by worshipping his current reality. He created it by stepping into a new identity until the outside world had to catch up. I didn't go from £15,000 a year to £18,000 a month by waiting for my circumstances to say, Joel, you're ready now. It wasn't the way. I had to become the person before the evidence arrived. And that is exactly what you have to do now. Your income does not rise when your emotional state is still bowing to your current reality. Life does not transform while the old self-image is still making the decisions. And your future cannot become real when present circumstances are louder than your desire and your expectation. So ignore your current reality in a way that matters. Stop treating it as it's your identity. Stop taking instructions from old evidence and stop allowing today's circumstances to decide tomorrow's expectations. Your bank account does not have to define who you can become. So don't let it. And here's another thing, your past results do not get to set the ceiling for your future. The version of you that has been surviving does not get to lead the version of you that is ready to rise. So make a committed decision. Just decide who you're becoming, hold that image and move from that place. And if you're really serious and you want to create more income, more freedom, more certainty, and finally become the version who lives the life that you keep thinking about, go to the link in the description and book a one-to-one call with me. Because at the end of the day, money replenishes, but time doesn't. And 6 months from now, you're going to be living with the result of the decisions that you make next. The visualization happens in the morning, then the rest of the day is spent reacting emotionally to current circumstances. The goal gets written down, but the person writing it still sees themselves as someone who is built for struggle.